I'm your host, Cynthia Fernandez, co-owner of Pilgrim's Way Community Bookstore and Secret Garden, and this is Simple Life, Stories for the Adventurous at Heart. Well, today is the 9th of February. It's the last day in the year, the Chinese year of the dragon, and tomorrow makes the first day of the new year. Happy Chinese New Year. So let's just look. The year of the snake, the year of the water snake is tomorrow. And I did a little looking online to see what we're in store for. I thought it was kind of interesting. I wanted to share it with you. Let's see. Welcome to the year of the water snake. Snake is the yin to last year's dragon Yan. That said, snake does not settle for mediocrity. We're likely to see significant developments in the area of science and technology this year. Research and development are apt to flourish. This is a water year as well, the element most closely associated with education and research, making 2013 a very special year for scientists and scholars. Snake is a great sign, a positive one, with energy that can help us face all the challenges ahead. I'm not sure if I like that. Let's take advantage of this vibrant influence to improve our lives and our world. So happy Chinese New Year tomorrow. You know, each week we take an hour to broadcast the voices of people in the Central Coast and their perspectives on a range of subjects close to the heart. This show focuses on people, not icons of our time, celebrities and the like. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just not what we're up to. Simple life experiences, struggles, triumphs, and perspectives that resonate for many, maybe, just maybe, will recognize the value of each person, including ourselves. I hope you enjoy today's show. There's a power to our human connection. This morning, as an example, I got up kind of early and I thought about a friend of mine. You know, I've been playing phone tag with her for probably 2 months now. She lives out of the area, so we have a hard time catching each other because we're usually kind of busy. She's been managing with some physical limitations for, the last few years, and I love to talk with her and spend time with her when I can, although it doesn't happen very frequently. Well, I think this morning I just thought, wow, it's early. I'll try and catch her. And I did, and we spoke, and it was great. And she's someone who I met only, I should say only 10 years ago. It seems like we've known each other for a lifetime, but we met at a naturalist event. And she's one of those people who's successful at being authentic and spontaneous and uplifting to herself and others. And I really look up to her as an educator and as a woman. Anyway, I felt so good connecting with her. It was like, just what I needed. Like having a fresh drink of water when you're thirsty and maybe don't realize how thirsty you are. And the quality of our interchange, I was thinking about after the call, and the feeling that remained after we spoke reminded me of one of my favorite writings, and I'd like to share it with you. It's by Oriah Mountain Dreamer, and it's been around a while, so a lot of you, I'm sure, are familiar with it, but I just wanted to share it with you, so here goes. It's called The Invitation, and it starts out like this. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for and are daring to dream of meeting your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you'll risk looking like a fool for love, for your dream, for the adventure of being alive. It doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon. I want to know if you've touched the center of your own sorrow, if you've opened to life's betrayals, or if you've become shriveled and closed from fear of further pain. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without moving to hide it or fade it or fix it. I want to know if you can be with joy, mine or your own. If you can dance with wildness and let ecstasy fill you in the tips of your fingers and in your toes without cautioning us to be careful, to be realistic, to remember the limitations of being human. It doesn't interest me if the story you're telling me is true. I want to know if you can disappoint another to be true to yourself. If you can bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul. If you can be faithless and therefore trustworthy. I want to know if you can see beauty, even when it's not pretty, every day, and if you can source your own life from its presence. I want to know if you can live with failure, yours and mine, and still stand at the edge of the lake and shout to the silver of the moon, yes. It doesn't interest me to know where you live or how much money you have. I want to know if you can get up after the night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and do what it takes to feed the children. It doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else falls away. I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in the empty moments. You know, I heard this interview with Orion Mountain Dreamer. She spoke about writing this particular poem, and she shared that it came to her after she and her husband went to a cocktail party. And she was reflecting on the evening and all the interactions with people there and conversations that took place. And the quality of the conversations that she had that evening were all at the surface. And she felt like she really didn't fit in that mold. She felt a real deep longing for a deeper connection. And out of that deep inner silence and loud longing, this poem came. So if you resonate with this poem or you want to know more of her work, we have 3 of her books in the bookstore at Pilgrim's Way Community Bookstore. The first is called The Invitation. That's what I just read from. And her second book is The Call. And the third is called The Dance. And they're all really good. They're not brand new, but they're really good. This is A Simple Life, and I'm Cynthia Fernandez, your host on KRXA. Our guest today has a special quality about her. I saw it the first time that we met in the store. And she's one of those people that strikes me as having been in the position of management or authority and was good at it. She's like a sage incognito wandering among us. She's always seemed approachable and open, and I always feel a little bit lighter after a conversation with her. Her name is Rosemary Luke of Carmel Valley. And I'm so glad that you're here, Rosemary.
Thank you.
Well, to start our show, can you tell us where you were born?
Oh, that question surprised me. I can. I was born in the Children's Hospital in Cincinnati, Ohio. And I lived in Ohio for 2 years. And then my dad and my mom moved to Virginia.
Virginia.
So Virginia, I think of as where I started life, as my, I think, birth home. Yeah, the South.
The South.
Yeah.
Well, there's lots of good ladies out of the South. So growing up, can you share who or what you feel really influenced you?
Oh, I love it. Yes, we were living on a farm. I didn't do any farming. Kind of wish I had, but we were living on a farm. And I could walk and walk and walk and see hills, trees, creeks, we called them creeks, and sometimes cows and sometimes horses and sometimes baby lambs. So it was the nature. It was the countryside. This was the Blue Ridge Mountains, supremely beautiful. Not like California mountains, which seem very masculine to me. These mountains are very feminine. So nature was the first influence, and a lasting one.
Well, I like the sound of that. So you've been called an actress-director and have been involved in theater for many years. And when I mentioned that to you earlier, you were like, oh, no.
It's such a world. It's such a world to visit. You know, I'm going to say that theater was a good friend for me. It's a bitch. She's a hard taskmaster. Staying afloat in that world takes some doing. It's a great use for your mind. It's a great use for your creativity. It's a great way to be in the community. And a fantastic discipline, So I'm going to say a very, very good friend. Yeah.
Now, I read an interview that I'm not sure when it was taken. I apologize, but I loved a few things you said, and I wanted to ask you. One quote, I just took it, paraphrased it: be rested, be healthy, be open, and keep working, working, working.
Wow, that's Uta Hagen. She wrote the book that was the Bible with a little bit of training I had. The healthier you are in mind, body, spirit, always, but in theater, I feel the more you can receive. Therefore, the more you can give. The working, 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 it's never done. It's never done. It can always just be a little bit more something exciting, restless, demanding, spiritual. It can always just be a little bit more raw. So stay healthy, tune yourself up, and yeah, the work, keep working. It takes a lot of energy.
Now,
it's not easy.
How long were you involved in theater?
I'm going to say off and on my adult life. I started with Marcia Hovick when I was 36, and I haven't done anything for a couple of years, but off and on from 36 to, let's say, 68. Yeah.
So you're still involved?
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Now, the other quote that I took note of, without actually realizing it, I created the Robert Louis Stevenson Drama Department.
Oh, it was such a long, wonderful time ago. When I got to Stevenson, an incredible school, when I got to Stevenson, it was all boys, and among other things, all sports. And what I evidently knew was the arts, and how could this be that there was no drama department there? So pretty soon there were one or two kids brave enough to think they might like to do a play, and we started with a faculty wife as our female lead, and then we found the prettiest girls at Santa Catalina School, and that drew those boys out of the woodwork. And pretty soon it was 2 plays a year, and then 3 plays a year, and then I was in rehearsal all the time. We just couldn't do enough plays to use up that kind of energy in those kids. Oh, they loved it, and they were so good, and I loved it.
Now, having interacted with young people around drama, I would imagine that you actually drew out other aspects of life and perhaps mentored other things you weren't planning on mentoring. Did that come up at all?
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say because it was a boarding school, because there were no women around, these guys were... They were hungry, and they were in our little tiny apartment eating English muffins and drinking 7-Up, whatever they were in class. Yes, I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, that just makes sense to me. You know, the other quote I heard, I wanted to get your take on. We don't ask enough of ourselves. We're content with too little.
Ouch. Ouch, yeah, I remember that. I'm older now. I probably see it a little bit differently because it's a time in my life for acceptance. Asking enough of ourselves. Do you know how beautiful a human being can be? How beautiful a human being can be. If you want to paint, if you want to sing, if you want to garden, if you want to cook, if you're an athlete, how fine that can become. Ask it of yourself. Ask it, and then ask it tomorrow. It fits in with keeping on working. An Ayurvedic doctor said to me one day, the door to heaven must be won every day. It must, every day, working, asking enough, asking more. And that doesn't mean you don't accept yourself. That doesn't mean you don't love yourself. That just means that little bit more that's in there. Find it and express it.
I love that. I really love that. That's awesome. You know, we're going to need to take a break. We're speaking in our studio with Rosemary Luke, but we're going to take a break, so stay with us. This is Simple Life.
I got no diamonds, got no pearls, still I think I'm lucky.
And we're back with our guest, Rosemary Luke, in the studio today. This is Simple Life. So, I'm so intrigued with all of your knowledge and experience in the theater. I think of theater as a metaphor of life, and I wonder what you think about that. You know, what does it reflect in people?
I never had thought of it that way before, because it's so intense when you're doing it, and remembering the lines and communicating with your other actors on stage and arriving on time, and is the audience getting what it is? A metaphor. It's a way to give love. It's a way to reach out. It's a way to connect. It's a way that works for some of us. Yeah, that's why we're there. If you aren't moved, if you aren't touched, I would say go home.
I think that's a good point. Now, you had mentioned earlier in conversation something about there being a couple of different worlds, and you find yourself behaving or feeling like you should behave one way in the secular world, and in the acting world, you like to shake it up. Tell me about that.
Let's see what I can do with this. Because I don't like the idea of division. I prefer the idea of integration. I've always felt that an artist needs fire. That's what's interesting, the fire, the passion. What's at stake? What do you want to say here? What do you need to get? What do you need to give? And if you're acting, if you're directing and you're bored or you're tired or you haven't tuned yourself up, that's how your audience is going to be. So that edge needs to be there. Well, having lived longer now and feeling so sweet when I'm reflecting and contemplating and looking towards spirit, I don't feel that edge. I have 2 grandchildren, and when they were born, the edge kind of went away. There's a sense of contentment and peace. So I feel both. And maybe this is just a time when things are wanting to be more mystical. Maybe that fire could come back. I don't know. Because I would have a different message now. I know that. I would have a different message on stage now. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and maybe it, like you said, it has to do with context and what's called for, what's really needing to come forward.
Right.
You know, when we're younger, there's a lot of fire around having our place protected, having ourselves expressed, or being noticed, or being able to accomplish what we find as a challenge. And we need that fire to propel us. But I think the longer you live and the more successful you are at carving out your place, then you get to enjoy your place.
Enjoy your place. What a gift. What a gift. Just exactly. And those of us who live here, oh, if you have a minute or two to think about that. Those of us who live here in this beauty, seemingly unthreatened, seemingly able to educate ourselves in safety. Wow. Wow. Yeah. Draw on that. That can source us. That can sustain us.
I was thinking about exactly that while looking at my Facebook news about the big, huge storm hitting the East Coast last night and today. There were pictures of people who had opened the front door of their house, and there were snowdrifts 4 and 5 feet tall around their doors and their windows. And, you know, there was some commentary about how do we get our, you know, little pathway for our pets to go out and have their outside time. And I just thought, oh my gosh, we're so lucky to be here. So much natural beauty, and, you know, at least for me, the weather is mild. It's not that cold, even when it's cold. And I just think it's a pleasure to be here. We're really, really lucky. So I agree with you, Rosemary.
We echo each other there. Yeah, and I notice it every day, and I feel it every day, and I'm going to slip this in here now. Our friend, Paola Bertoin, has assembled a book called Passion for Place, which of course they have at Pilgrim's Way. And it celebrates life in this area and the people who've lived here and loved life in this area. So stop by the bookstore and take a look at it.
It's a wonderful book.
And there's another wonderful woman among us named Myra Goodman, and she keeps growing organic vegetables, and they're so good. And then she writes recipes about these organic vegetables so we can cook with them and love to eat that way. And it's a nourishment. It's a nourishment, just
and
like
an
our
art.
environment.
Don't
and
you
an
think
art.
it's
and
an
art?
Yeah.
And an art.
I find it a very resourceful art, maybe even practical, but an art nonetheless. Especially in, like we were talking earlier about living in modern times where life doesn't seem to be simple. And how do you live close to the earth? How do you grow your own vegetables? How do you take time to write a book or a recipe or to share it in distribution when life is so busy? It's an interesting mix that we have. I suppose you could say it's an abundant mix of choices that we have. But I agree with you.
I'm smiling. I'm smiling.
I would love to know, Rosemary, your definition of community. How do you define that word?
Whew, that's another ouch. That's an excellent question. Because as so many of our environmentalists, and I hope you're okay with that word, as so many of them say, we need community. That's what we're going to have. It's going to help us get through these challenging times. And I am not easy with community because I have been such an individualist, solitary sort of a person. So my definition of community is, someone who shares my vibration. Someone who's pushing towards the same sort of consciousness that I hope will involve more and more of us. Someone who sees beauty in the natural world. So we may not necessarily be sitting in a circle, and we may not necessarily have a club, but we're on the same page. We're on the same page in life, out there doing our thing with the same heartbeat, the same shared vision.
And it seems like a lot of, this is my perspective anyway, people really are in community and sometimes don't recognize it.
Absolutely.
And as a result, I find that kind of spurs or makes fertile ground for conflicts. So, for example, whether it be neighbors at work, in their own business, or maybe like, with us, we're in a merchant area, we're in a retail space, and we have neighbors. They have different businesses. And I think it's easy to compartmentalize, where you think, well, this is mine and that's theirs. But we share the same traffic. We share the same visitors. We share the same weather. We share the same city ordinances. That everything affects us equally on some level. And that is, I suppose, the foundation of community on a practical basis.
And that's the level I would be so overjoyed to see us rise to. That's the level. That's the not stop working. That's the ask more to yourself, more of yourself. I have a family struggle right now, and staying in a positive space, staying light-filled, I'm not making it. But it's what I'm reaching for. It's what I'm reaching for a higher image, reaching for a more beautiful image, reaching for an image that strengthens you more. Where is there not that difference? Where is there not that difference? And there's a place. Deepak Chopra could help you with this. He's another one I read. I have 16 Deepak Chopra books on my shelf. Maybe I've got the message now. I hope so.
He is a very prolific writer.
And he says the same thing over and over again, but that's okay because we don't all get it the same way.
That's for sure. Yeah, I think community is a wonderful tool. If you're just listening to us, this is Cynthia Fernandez hosting you on the Simple Life Stories for the Adventurous Heart Hour, and our guest in studio today is Rosemary Luke.
And Rosemary has a question.
Yes.
Cynthia is saying adventurous heart. Where did you find that phrase? What are you thinking when you use that phrase? I love it.
Well, it's actually something, you know how they say something borrowed, something blue? When we, Pilgrim's Way, acquired the Secret Garden as part of our business, There was an existing sign at the entrance of the secret garden as you enter from Dolores. And it was a sort of creating intrigue and also welcoming at the same time. And it finishes off that it's for the adventurous at heart. And so we've acquired that same phrase in the bookstore, Books for the Adventurous at Heart, because you are a customer, you know. We have an eclectic collection. However, there is a common theme. Just yesterday, there were some customers in the store whose husbands are in the golf tournament, you know, the AT&T Pro-Am that's going on right now. And these ladies had armfuls of books, and they came up to the counter and said, I just can't believe your store. You have so many good books. And I said, well, thank you. And she said, no, really, I've been to Barnes & Nobles. I probably shouldn't say that. But she said, you know, I can walk around that store, and it's a huge store with tons of books, and I can't find anything that I want. And look, I have so many books here. So we do have a lot of books. They are for the adventurous at heart. They're for people who are seeking perhaps a more expanded awareness or more depth in a particular area. And as you know, we can order anything and have it turned around in a day to a few days.
I've done that many times, yes.
And, you know, people think that, well, they can only come into the store and buy what's off the shelves. But actually, they can order anything, and we can even run it out to the curb, because sometimes parking is difficult.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Just honk, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think a lot about community, and I think that in terms of our future, you know, a lot of people use the word sustainability now, and that's a good word. But I had someone explain to me that if we actually accomplished sustainability at our current condition on the planet, it wouldn't really help. What we need is regeneration. We need a regenerative design to our community, to our lives, our health, our families, and I really, really resonate with that.
That's an exciting word. That kind of charges me. That sort of gets me going. I'm trying to think then, how would I regenerate? What would that look like? What would that mean? And maybe it's hard to find in winter. Maybe it's hard to find when you're a little bit sad. But absolutely, absolutely, that has such a good ring to it. Yeah, it's positive. It's hope-filled. It's full of possibility.
Exactly. I was thinking the same word, possibility, because, you know, if you've ever been a kid, and I think we all qualify for that. I remember when I was 3 years old, back in the day when I was 3 years old, milk used to be delivered in glass bottles and left on the front porch. Yes. And being 3 years old and being me, I wanted to be helpful. My mom came home, and we had just gone grocery shopping, and her arms were full of bags of groceries, and she saw the milk on the porch, opened the door, and was walking across the hardwood floors to put her grocery bags down in the kitchen. And me being helpful, I picked up that half-a-gallon glass bottle of milk.
Oh, Cynthia.
And being 3 years old, it didn't last in my hands very long. So the point of the story is you can always clean things up. You can always restore. If you don't believe you can, then you can't. And so part of a regenerative design, I think, has to come from that starting place of believing that things can be regenerated, they can be corrected, they can be remedied, they can be healed. And that was one of the things that actually led, believe it or not, led me to my husband, Paul Fridland. I was in the bookstore for the first time during a break because I worked in town, just actually down the street from the bookstore. And I came into the bookstore to find a permaculture book. Now, if you're not familiar with permaculture, it's a phrase that was coined to mostly indicate a permanent agriculture or a regenerative design to gardening and building. And it applies not only to gardens and architecture, but also to soilless gardens like people, communities, and families. And I came in the bookstore looking for that book, and when I eventually connected with Paul and asked him if he had a book on permaculture, he said, I don't think so. Maybe you can tell me what that is.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that was in 1999.
Brilliant. Yeah.
So it really excites me because Bill Mollison, who's considered one of the experts in permaculture, did an experiment, I suppose, and it was documented. You can probably still find it on YouTube somewhere, but he took a group of people out to a desert in Africa. There are a few there. They're rather large. And they somehow transported a big caterpillar, you know, the yellow iron, the big bulldozers, and they twisted the front bulldozer tool, whatever that is, to like a 45-degree angle, and they drove for 3 miles. And that was it. They packed up and they went home. And they came back 3 years later. You know, Africa doesn't get a lot of rain. They get a few inches a year. But there was a 3-mile-long oasis where they had dug that ditch. And then, of course, you start to understand when you learn about permaculture that there are some natural alliances within nature, landscape, design, wind, water, sun, and how they impact that one little place. The water had dropped down into the hole. The birds and animals who were traveling, mostly birds, I think, went for the water, and birds who eat seed drop seed, seed meets water, and it just continues. So if we can regenerate deserts, there's hope for soilless gardens, and I really find encouragement with that. We're talking with Rosemary Luke in studio. Stay with us. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Simple Life.
Whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things. Cream color.
And we're back with Rosemary Luke in studio today. This is Simple Life, stories for the adventurous at heart. I love that question you asked me about the adventurous at heart. I'm not sure if I answered it properly.
Your answer was marvelous, and the phrase will stay with me. We think of adventure in other ways.
Yes.
Swords.
For sure.
And macho, and I like this adventurous heart.
Well, you know, if you've been to Pilgrim's Way Community Bookstore and Secret Garden on Dolores between 5th and 6th in downtown Carmel, the walkway into the garden shop is literally a little hallway. I mean, it's pretty much a one-way road. And people who stand at the sidewalk and look past the bamboo-lined walkway into a back area, you can see that it opens up. You're not quite sure what you're going to find back there. So it really does take a little bit of adventure in your spirit to keep moving forward. And it's intriguing. It really is intriguing. But I've been told, and I agree, it's a very peaceful, beautiful place. We were talking before the break about community and all the aspects of community, and one of the aspects that I find very near and dear to my heart is education and our young people. And given your background, I was wondering if you think that drama should be a part of an education system.
If drama should be a... All right.
If it has value.
Absolutely. I saw work in theater open up so many children, whether they went on the stage or whether they were working backstage. The esprit de corps, the excitement, all of it building, what it takes to put a play together. Absolutely everyone should have that experience. Doesn't have to be in the academic day. It's fine if somehow they get theater afterwards or on the weekend, but not to be missed. Not to be missed.
Well, it seems to me, and I really haven't had theater, but I was raised very religiously, believe it or not, and theater was a no-no.
You're remarkable. You're remarkable. Theater was a no-no.
Theater was a no-no. Couldn't socialize, couldn't do that sort of thing. You know, way too much focus on the individual. But I would imagine that there's an element of theater that is egoless, that you're part of, you almost transform and be part of a group identity, and perhaps you have a role in the performance, but it's not about how you feel about it. You just sort of pull yourselves up by your bootstraps at some point in time, swallow your fear, and move forward because the group is counting on you. Is that a fair?
Cynthia, I love you so much. And we're just going to go with what you said because it's a better place to be if it's coming from love.
I see.
If it's coming from love.
Yeah.
It's not always coming from love.
Yeah, I suppose that's true too. Yeah, I suppose that's true. So on some level, then it's also a spotlight that
oh my gosh,
someone who
oh my
really
gosh.
wants attention can stand in.
Oh my gosh. And so, yeah. And so if it's coming from love, I think we'll stay there. I think it's just a good idea.
Well, that being said, maybe you can kind of fill in some of the blanks that I'm stumbling across and help me with what kinds of value it does bring young people in their maturity, in their development. How does it help?
I'll tell you a story, and that will say it all. The kids at Stevenson, now remember this is all boys. This is what they have day in and day out. The kids at Stevenson wanted to do One Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest.
That's
they just had to
great
do that
story.
play. They had to do that play. And at that time, the headmaster didn't think so. That was a little bit too risque. Oh my gosh, people were going to be running around in their pajamas. The kids prevailed, and I might as well not have been there. They loved it so much. They built that nurse's station. There was a guy up in the rafters hanging lights for weeks. They loved that play. They did that play. Well, the lead one night forgot his wallet wherever, and so we need to go back to Carmel and get his wallet, and we did. And coming home, he said, I can't believe you cast me in this play. I was hit in the head by a baseball, and they said I'd never be able to do anything. I'd never be able to remember anything. And I remember all these lines, and I'm carrying this show, and it has turned my life around.
Wow.
Because it gave him confidence. That's what can happen.
Wow, that's really, and there's a level of insecurity or fear even that people have to face.
At some time, and it doesn't have to be theater. It doesn't have to be theater that brings this out. You can be in the orchestra, you can be dancing, or in sports. But there is something pretty magical about doing a play together. There is. Yeah.
It creates a lot of bond.
Lot of bond.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so you see these young people from that description, a starting place, and then having accomplished the play, coming out the other side, they're changed. They're confident now. They have a sense of themselves they didn't have previously.
Definitely.
And does that translate into their schoolwork?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think the issue there usually is, why are you keeping them up so late? And why are they preoccupied and not paying attention in class? But the energy around it is good.
Yeah.
The energy around it is good. Maybe some of the specifics give us a little trouble, but the energy is so good. And of course, the faculty would come and the coaches would come, and everybody would just be overjoyed at what some of these kids were doing. Overjoyed. Yeah.
We're speaking with Rosemary Luke. This is The Simple Life. Rosemary, tell me your definition of the word charity.
Thanks. Do you know there are actually people who will look at you and they will tell you there's no such thing as altruism?
Really?
They haven't lived inside of my skin. Charity. You want to give what you have because you can't bear it that it's a have-not world. That's my definition of charity.
That's sweet. Now, I did see that you have been involved in local charities for a while, and I would love for you to let people know about that. Could you share that?
Oh, boy. Well, I'm going to try. May take me a while to get local, because the first thing that comes to my mind is this wonderful conference that happens every October in Marin. They call themselves Bioneers.
Oh, I love that.
And we're doing everything we can in permaculture, restoring the earth, social justice, environmental justice. We're doing everything we can to make people aware of how to take care of the earth. And I'm a great supporter of them. The Carmel Valley Association is dedicated to protecting Carmel Valley. And I know that all of you can't live there, but you all can visit. We have a great, big, beautiful park with a river running through it, and you can come and visit. And then I think we have a magnificent outfit called Land Watch, which is dedicated to let's take a look at how we're growing. Let's take a look at how we're growing. And a perfect person to mention here is Jane Parker. We have a supervisor who is the most spiritual, exquisite, in tune kind of a person, looking out for the interests of the earth and the interests of the heart. And I support her fully. Support the arts, youth collective, wonderful people working with kids after school, so they're not expressing themselves in theater, they're expressing themselves artistically, which I wish I knew more about them. It's maybe a little broader palette. Do you know the Union of Concerned Scientists? They're doing wonderful work towards the earth, towards climate change, towards reducing nuclear. Physicians for Social Responsibility, the same. Taking a look, stepping back and taking a look at what we're doing. How much of it is healthy? How much of it is, thank you, Cynthia, regenerative? That's my new word. That's my homework.
I love it. I love it. So you stay pretty busy.
You know I do.
What do you do for fun?
Thank you for that question as well. I've never been so good at fun. I just don't seem to have that piece. Walk with my dog.
Oh, there you go.
Walk with my dog is fun. And I love to cook.
Oh,
walk with my dog and cook.
nice.
Bake especially.
Yeah, I bet your dog likes your cooking.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder what is near to your heart that you're working on right now. Is there something in particular, a project or a concern that is really up for you lately?
Near to my heart is a script for a one-woman show which I would love to do, and we just don't seem to be getting that script. Now, here is a case of work, and asking more of yourself. One-woman shows can be deadly. You're just listening to one voice for an hour or more. So that script hasn't happened. Near to my heart is Compassionate Care Alliance, which has produced 2 original scripts to help us dialogue about end-of-life issues.
Thank God.
And the 3rd script is finished, and we're planning a reading on the 19th of February to see if the Carmel Foundation.
Okay.
To see if this script has legs. And we're 3 old ladies living in a trailer park, and we're trying to figure out how we're going to end our days. It has a lot of charm to it.
I love it.
So
Now, is that something that the public is invited to?
if you want to come and hear a first reading on the 19th of February at 5:30 at the Carmel Foundation, please do come. It's
Awesome.
absolutely free.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Now, I warned you earlier I was going to ask you your favorite book of all time. Now's your moment.
She did warn me. And honestly, Cynthia, my answer is my favorite book is whatever I'm reading right now. It honestly is. But let me just say, I love anything that Alice Walker will write. She feels like a sister to me. And I feel the same way about Terry Tempest Williams. And I've mentioned Chopra. And I also love Paul Hawken. I don't do that much fiction. There's nothing better than a good story, but my spirit keeps wanting food, keeps wanting to be guided. I think these people I've just mentioned are regenerative.
I think
I
they
might
are.
have to look. Might not have to look that far.
It's just a matter of recalibrating what you already know in a different light.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Well, it has been such a great time spending with you.
Thank you.
I'm so glad to have you as
Thank
a
you.
guest on Simple Life. And I hope that we can do this again because
Thank you.
you stay so busy. I'm sure there'll be more to talk about.
Thank you, Cynthia. What a beautiful, beautiful person you are. It's
Well-
a beautiful experience.
What a treat you are. I want to let everybody know about the service that we provide at the store. Now, the Pilgrim's Way Community Bookstore in Secret Garden is in its 45th year now. We are 44 years old as of January 1st, 2013. And a lot of people are under the misconception that we're still that weird little bookstore in Carmel. But if any of you are local and you're listening, you remember the Thunderbird Bookstore that we all knew and loved that was located in the Barnyard Shopping Center. And they've been gone now about I want to guess 7 or 8 years maybe. At that point in time, we changed from being a specialty store into being a community bookstore, and so we widened our selection to include brand new hardcovers, lots of novels, lots of different subject matter. We have a huge children's section in the store. If you've heard this program before, my granddaughter Isabella has done children's book reviews and spun her own stories. So she, the other day, was in the store, didn't have time to record this week. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but she did pick out, she said, I have 2 favorite books now. So you'll probably have that to listen to next week when I'm here with you. But we do have a diverse collection, and it is a community bookstore, not a metaphysical bookstore. Not that there's anything wrong with that either.
Love it.
I just want to make sure people know, if they haven't been in the store, that there have been some changes, and we're doing our best to sustain our own longevity so that we can be here in the community and be part of the community the way that we have been. And we can order anything, as we mentioned before. So if you are one of those local people who read the New York Times and you've got the bestsellers list there, a lot of folks just tear that out and bring it in the store and say, if you don't have this, order it for me. And we do that in short order, and it's painless. And actually, just yesterday, I had someone call, with AT&T in town, it's been really crowded, or actually, earlier in the week, it was a ghost town. But yesterday, everyone came into town. So yesterday, I got a call, and this woman said, my husband wants to come down to the store, but he can't find parking. And I said, oh, gosh, I should mention to you that if you want to just handle the details over the phone, he can call from his cell phone in the car, and we'll run it out to him ready to go. And so he ended up coming in the store because there was a parking place, but they were delighted to know that. So that is a benefit. And the other thing that someone mentioned to me recently, I think it was you, Michelle. Thank you, Michelle, for being here, was the difference between ebooks and real books. I want to call them real books, because you come into any bookstore, local please, but any bookstore, and you pick up a book, that book belongs to you. However, that is not the case with an ebook. And I'm not saying this like a scare tactic at all, but I really believe in empowerment, and I believe in the consent of choice. Being informed and making consent is a very powerful place to be. So there was an actual situation not that long ago, I think it was the fall of last year, where a woman in Canada, was it Canada or UK? She had a ebook, all her ebooks were erased, and she was revoked from using the evil A, as we put it, and they didn't belong to her. She was considered, anybody on an ebook is considered renting that book, not owning it. It doesn't belong to you. So I hear this Simple Life music coming on, and I know that our time is slipping away very quickly, and I just want to encourage everyone to support our sponsors and stay with us.